It's so stupid. Like you don't call them any other time besides in the same shul.
Wat ik zeggen?
Huh?
Okay, so the Gemara thought that if we learn from the protim of Chamor Sharseh Balei Chaim, it should limit it to Balei Chaim that are similar to Chamor Sharseh, and those are Balei Chaim that when they die, they're Nevelas Hamatama the regular way with Magu Hamasa. But an Oiftar, whose Nevela is Matama in a very unique way, the Tumas Besavliya, only if the person who eats the Nevelas Oiftar swallows it as it swallows it, that's when it becomes Tamei. If that is the case, how do we know that there's a Chiv Kefal to pay for a Nevelas Oiftar? You might ask, we have a prat of Salma as well. It says Chamor Shorsa and Salma. Salma is inanimate, it doesn't have any tum at all. Zok to Gemara, the halacha is when you analyze a klal, prat or klal, each prat which is being used to define one area that's going to be included into the klal is assessed on its own. So when we're looking to include Balei Chaim, Salma wouldn't be the avenue with which we would include it into the rule of Kefal. The Kalchad V'chad Klal Prat Bapinafshe Dashinale. Avaloifos. But a Nevelas Oiftar or an Oiftar whose Nevela is only Mitama Beis Abli Aloi. Zog to Gemara, Im Kain, if you would make such an argument that if the Torah wanted that one should not be Chayiv Kefal if he's told an Oiftar, Nichler Rachmon Achad Prat. Why would I need Chamor, Shor, and Seh? One prat alone would be enough to be marba all Balei Chaim, except for an Oiftar. Frankly, more which prat could the Torah have said that would have included everything but Oif? Because of Rachman and Shar, if the Torah only said Shar, Havamina, that it's even further limited, and the only type of animal that you'll be Chayiv Kefal for stealing are Korv L'Gabim Mizbeach in, She'ein Korv L'Gabim Mizbeach Loi, only an animal that can be brought as a carbon. Surely no behemot tameo. The ikaz of achmon chamar, and even if the Torah said chamar, which would include a behemot tameo, it would still limit it to have amina kaddish b'v'chayer in kaddish b'v'chayer loy. Because a chamar, although it's a behemot tameo, and it's not never brought on the mizbeach, it still has a kedushas of b'char. So maybe only animals with the kedusha of a b'char, but a sus, a gomel, maybe those animals would not be chayiv kefal if you stole it. So Amri imkei nichtav achmon shar v'chamar. Granted that we need both of the pratim of Shar and Chamar, but Selamali, why did the Torah throw in a third prat, which is completely redundant? Shma Mino Lasuya Oifis. Frank the Gemara, the Ema Lasuya Oifis to Hirin, Dumya Deseh, the Mitama, the Kodama Beis Abliya. Maybe that only includes Oifis Tarim, because at least they have Tame. Aval Oifis Tameim, the last Bu Tuma. But Oifis Tameim, that don't have tumah, maybe those shouldn't be included in the chiv kefil. If you stole the parrot, you would not be mechuyev kefil. Actually, I shouldn't say so clearly. I think a parrot is a oif tumah. I don't think you're allowed to eat a parrot. Aval oifos tameim loizot Rashi. The last bu tumah, they don't have it in tumah. Kede isa b'chulin. On daf kuf and chulin it says yochal tehei nevelas oif tamei mitama begodim abeis abliya. You would have thought that just like the Nevelas Oiftar is Mitama Beis Abliya, so too a Nevelas Oiftar would do the same. Talmud Leimer Nevela Utreifa Lo Yoichel L'Tamava. Misha Yisura B'Shum Bal Toichel Nevela Utreifa. What type of animal has a Tumas Nevela Beis Abliya? That's an animal that the only reason why you weren't allowed to eat it is because it became a Nevela. But an Oiftame you couldn't eat anyway. Yotzazeh Sheni Suroi B'Shum Bal Toichel Nevela Utreifa. So therefore, it does not have the din tumas beis abliya. So therefore, an oif tamei, there should be no chiv kefal if you steal it. Zok Gemara, kol ribuyu. So if we look at the pasuk, it says al kol bar pesha al shor al chamor al se al salma, and then it says al kol aveda asher yomer kiuza. So that kol, it could have said al aveda asher yomer kiuza. What it was al kol? That kol is being marba everything, even in oif tamei. Zok to Gemara b'chol heicha the chas of kol ribuyu. Whenever it says kol, in the context of a klal prat to klal, you're not just going to say that's part of the klal. You're actually going to say it's the standalone extra riboy. Is that in fact the case? But by Meiser, the chsiv koil, it also uses the word koil in the context of a klal prat to klal, because dashin lebechal prat, and we don't say it's a standalone riboy. Rather, we just fold it into the klal. The Tanya we learned. It says in the pasuk. I'm going to read it here in the pasuk. The Sata Kesef, talking about the Mois Ma'asher Sheni. What can you buy with it? B'chol asher ta'ava nafshach. B'chol is the klal. We don't say b'chol is marba something in addition to a klal. Rather, b'chol asher ta'ava nafshach is the klal. Then we have protim. B'bokar, uvatzoin, uvayayin, uvashecher. Four protim. And then again, uvachol asher tishalcha nafshecha v'chalt l'fnei Hashem alekech. So it says uvachol. And there we just write it off as part of the regular structure of the klal prat to klal. The Tanya of the Sat, I guess, of chayil asher ta'avad nafshcha klal. But bakar v'tzoyin b'yayim v'shecher prat. Uvechayil asher tishalcha nafshcha chazuv v'kolal. And we darshan klal lu prat to klal I atadon elokeina prat. It's marba many things, but things only that are similar to the prat. Ma prat before is pri mi pri v'gidul karka. First of all, it's pro-generated. It's a child coming from parents. So most plants reproduce and they produce another plant. But for instance, truffle and mushroom, that does not grow from the last generation. So that is not included in something that you're allowed to buy from Mois Ma'asher Sheni. And Ugedula Karka, it has to be something that grows from the ground. Rashi says, Lim ute dogim, which would exclude fish. Animals, cattle, meat would be considered to do the kaka for these purposes, as Tosfos discusses a couple of blot ago on the Dalit. Av kol primi pri kaka, you're allowed to buy with Ma'asher Sheni. So you see that the bakoil wasn't considered an extra limud that we could have been marba fish with. Rather, you say it's just part of the structure of the klal prat to klal. Zokt Gemara, you're right. Amri bakoil or ubichoil asher ta'avad nafshecha, that is a klal. That is part of the regular structure of klal. But koil, that's a different type of word. Ribuyahu, that says I'm not part of the klal prat to klal. I'm coming to be marba, even something that wouldn't have been included in the klal prat to klal. That's one answer. In fact, kol kolalahu. Normally, if it says kol in the context of a klal prat to klal, it's not a standalone riboy, it's just part of the klal. Miu, however, kol the hocha, the kol that we have by the parsha of Kevel, ribuya. Here it's a riboy because clearly it stands out. Why? Michdi ksiv meikar klal prat to klal. It already says a klal prat to klal. Now the pasuk that we quote of al shor of al kol var pesha al shor chamor, that's really the end of the parsha. That's already after the whole story happened, and there was a geneva, and you were caught. So that's where it discusses this klal prat to klal. But this parsha starts introducing the scenario was ki'it and ish al re'eu kesef kelim lishma. Right? How did this whole story start? Someone gave kelim or kesef. Someone gave a pekod to a shomer to watch. There's also a klal prat to klal. It says ki'it and ish al re'eu, which would be a klal. Kesef kelim would be a prat. Lishmar would be a klal. The good of a ish, and you must say God to be shalom shnai. So the question over here is, why did the Torah wait till the end of the parsha when it's discussing the Chiyuv Kefil to identify what it applies to? Originally, when we introduced the parsha, that's when the parsha is to define precisely what these halachas apply to. So Nachama, back into the Gemara. The Ksiv Meikar Klal Prat Klal. The Ksiv Kiyit and Ishal Re'eyu was the Klal. Kesef HaKelim is the prat. Lishmar Hadavachal. So we already have a klal prat to klal that's defining what this parsha is applying to. If the whole purpose of the Akol Var Pesha at the end of the parsha is also to define what items the Chiyuv Kefil applies to, Nichler Rechmana Lahani Prati Kabeheich Klalu Prat. All of these pratim, Ashor Chamor said Salma, should have been inserted into the chit nish el reu kesav kelim shar chamor salma lishmar. And from the introduction of that parsha, we would know what it applies to and what it doesn't. Al kol dvar pesha lomali. Why do we need the whole klal pratu klal of al kol dvar pesha? It's all redundant. Therefore, shmami na ribuyahu, we can be marba everything. Beautiful. Let's see Rashi. These look at the chay al kol dvar pesha the also le'inyan kefel lemidu shi b'chlal prat also. If that pasuk, the second pasuk at the end, is also only about klal pratu klal, v'loy misrabi lekefel ela keina prat, and it's only being marba kefel keina prat. And at the last step of the Gemara, we were excluding the oivtamei lichtevinu lahani prati b'krakama. Why don't you put all those pratim into the first pasuk that's introducing the parsha of kefel? The leader is called chad b'apadamsha. Kitakamit exactly like you said. The b'krakama nami kfeliksim. The first pasuk is also talking about the chiyuv kefil. Yet the Torah doesn't do that. The Torah is a whole new set. El shmami no hai klala, the krabasra ribuyu. It teaches us that don't treat the klal basra like a regular klal pratu klal. Rather use it as a ribuy. Ulini kefil loy dashinon klalu prat. You're not darshaning. Ukrakamo dechseve klal prat leini shvu the also. So when you're talking about the introduction to the parsha is talking about what items you could swear on and what items you can't. Because normally when a shomer denies that he's chayiv, he claims something happened that he's not mechuyev for, he has to swear. What type of items does he have to swear on? That we learned from the first klal prat to klal. But being that the Torah had a whole new klal prat to klal at the end to define who pays kefil, it must be that we're not using the same method and including all the same items in the klal, because if not, we should have just relied on the klal prat to klal at the introduction of the parsha. But since we're repeating the whole thing again, we're abandoning klal prat to klal here, and this is just being marba from Bakoil, being marba everything. Okay? Gavaltic. Now, Tosfos on Amud Beis struggles with a shaila, and that is, we're talking about primarily in this parsha the kefil of a toyin tainis kana, meaning a shomer received something as a pekod. He claims it was stolen in such a way where he wouldn't be chayiv, and therefore he swore that it was so, and only then, after he makes a shvua, as we're going to learn today, only after he makes a shvua is there the chiyuv kefil for toyin tainis kana. The problem is, if you can't swear on certain items, how could you be chayiv kefil for? So by definition, anything that you can't swear on, you wouldn't be able to be chayiv kefil. So if you can't swear on karka, you can't swear on avodim, you can't swear on shtaris, well then, how could you possibly be chayiv kefil for them if you didn't make a shvua? So that's one of the things that Tosfos struggles with on Amud Beis, right? Keeping the matim is shvua, typically they ain't ban kefil between times ganov, lo b'shalom ela b'shvua. So Tosfos answers, v'yeshlamir the itzrech lahecha denishbal yidei gilgal. You're right. We wouldn't be mashpia somebody about a genev of karka. But the halach is, what if he had some other shvud that was triggered? He was moidev and mixas on some other thing where there was a chiyuv shvud iraisa upon him. Al yidei gilgal, we could make him swear for karka as well, and therefore it's possible that there would be a chiyuv kefil for things even that you normally would not swear on. Okay, let's see the Gemara weiter. So now that kol is a riboy, so now we have a whole new question. Kol hani prati lamali. Why do we need shor chamor sen salma? From Bekoil, you learned that everything is included in the chiyuv of kefil. Zok to Gemara chad lemute karka. I need one to say that you don't pay kefil on karka. The chad lemute avodim, and one to say that you don't pay kefil for avodim. The chad lemute shtaris. And one to say that you don't pay kefil for shtaris, and salma, what salma coming to be memayit? What don't you pay kefil on? Lemute davar she'enei mesuya. What is a davar she'enei mesuya? Zok Rashi, salma yesh lo simon. Normally a beged has simonim. Kedamin beil matzias ma salma meyuchedes sheyesh lo simon. The Gemara in Bava Metzia Daf Chav Zayin says that a beged you can assume has simonim. Has specifics to it. If it's my beged, like a victim say, it would have a stain over here, it would have a tear over here, it has a simon. It's not a generic. It's not a generic item. So there. Oh, thank you so much.
No, thank you, Mati.
Oh, thank you, Mati. Lumute davar she'ein mesuyim. She'ein lebailim simin boy shepater mikev. If the bailim have no simin, we have a xeris akasa from Salmo that you're not chayiv kev. That's not what everybody agrees to. There are those who argue on this pshat, such as Tosfos, and Zog Tosfos. Davar she'ein mesuyim. Tosfos has a lot to say about this. Pirush HaKodesh, davar she'ein lebailim simin boy. Fact Tosfos v'kasha. Mali yesh by simin, mali ein by simin. If you steal something from me, you pay me kefel. Why should the Torah say that something that doesn't have a simin is exempt from kefel? You stole something from me, so it didn't have a simin. Umfarish riva, kagoyin hidit nam b'shvus hadayonim, ein yishboin al davar shebemida, shebemiskal, v'shebemigin. Something that you could only buy by the pound, there's no din shavu on it. Lafuke bayis mole masarti lach. If I say I gave you a house that was full or a wallet that was full, yes, it could be a wallet that was full, but what was it full of? Was it full of ones or was it full of hundreds? Whatever you left me, I gave you back. So that it's not clear. I'm saying I gave you a full jug of orange juice, and you didn't give me back a full jug. That's what the Shaila was about. Where it's clearly defined. This fellow says, well, the level of grain piled up in the storehouse was up to the window. And the other guy says, no, when I left it here, it was really up higher. There it's high because it's more defined. So that's one svara Tosha says. Is that it's something that the amount wasn't clearly defined. Because Tosha doesn't like the svara of Rashi that it's a siman. Anyway, so that's what Salba teaches us. Zog to Gemara weiter. Al kol aveda. Why does it say al kol aveda at the end of that pasuk? L'chad Rab Chia bar Abba. The Amar Rab Chia bar Abba Rabbi Yochanan hatoyin tainis ganav aveda. The halacha is the rule of toyin tainis ganav is very specific. Let's say you had a shomer chinam who's potter on ganeva aveda, and the owner comes and says, I would like my chayvetz back that I gave you to watch. The shomer claims it was stolen. It was nignava. And then it turns out that the shomer himself had stolen his chayiv kev. But what if the shomer said it was nevda? He's also potter. And he also kept it. He did exactly the same thing. All that changed was instead of claiming that it was nignava and whoever stole it would probably be chayiv kevel, I said nevda. There's no chayiv kevel for Torah Tainis Ganav. It's because the Torah very tightly defines the very specific scenario where you're going to be mechuyev kevel. Mishalem tashlume kevel. Shenemar al kol aveda asher yomer. So baveda Rashi says moitza aveda shetoyin nigna vahimeni lachishem asasiya. So I was a little bit off. The chiddush of toyin tainis ganav aveda doesn't mean you tained nevda. If you tained nevda, you're potter. But what if you found an aveda? If you found an aveda, let's say we hold that you're a shomer chinam, and you tained that it was nignava, you will also be mechuyev on kevel. There's a machlokes. Actually, those we just learned a couple of blot ago. If a shomer aveda is shomer chinam, shomer sacher, right? Remember we had the shita, the Galatian shita. The since if a mishloach would ask me for money while I'm busy with your aveda, at that moment I don't have to give him a penny, so I'm already shomer sacher, right? So the Gemara said, how do you have toyin tainis kind of aveda? The Gemara wants to know. So the Gemara said it was with toyin tainis list the mezuyim. Right, so the Gemara said, list of mezuyim is not chayiv and cable. The whole sukkah said, no, list of mezuyim is chayiv and cable because list of mezuyim is like a ganiv because list of mezuyim is also afraid of people and not afraid of Hashem. Right, that was that whole sukkah. Akol aveda shoyim. Okay. So you're telling me if a shomer aveda is shomer chinam, why do I need a pasuk for shomer aveda? Again, because the Torah defines very clearly under what parameters you're chayiv, and it says the Torah starts off which kiyitin ishal reyev. A person gave his friend. So the Torah defines the chiyuv kevel for toyin tainis ganav that when it started off as someone being mafkin pekadon. It doesn't talk about someone finding an aveda. So you need a riboy to say that it's also referring to a shomer who became a shomer by finding an aveda. Okay, Gavaltik. Tanan Hashem. You be potter. Yeah, so if you want to be a crook, at least learn the halachas first. Zakta Gemara. I'm sorry. That's right. That's right. Someone once said if a Ganav would apply his focus and his planning to make money legally, he would probably make more money. But a Ganav needs to live life on the edge. A Ganav feels that if he doesn't live life on the edge, he's taking up too much space. It's the thrill.
If scoundrels knew the benefit of honesty, they'd be honest out of sheer rascality.
I have a friend who was a lawyer, and he told me about someone in Toronto who we knew was a criminal that was actually standing toe-to-toe with the American justice system here in Toronto for like 7 years. They were trying to extradite him, and he was literally playing with them in delay tactics, and he was able to delay his extradition for 7 years. So the lawyer told him about this guy. This guy is such a smart guy. He could make so much money legally, but he can't. He just needs the thrill of...
Victor, what did you say? Repeat that.
If scoundrels knew the benefit of honesty, they would be honest out of sheer rascality.
Tanan Hasam. Heichan Piktoni. Where's my pikadon? So I'm going to assume that the mafkid gave a pikadon to a shomer, and now he's coming to collect his pikadon, and he asks Heichan Piktoni. Amarle, the shomer says, Abad, I lost it. Mashbiachani, swear that you lost it and that you're not really holding on to it yourself. Yamar Amen. And he accepted upon himself to shvua. And now you have Edim that he ate it. Why did he have to have eaten it? Why couldn't Edim just say that he has it? We'll see in a second. Mishalim as a Karen, he pays Karen. But he doesn't pay Kefil because he tiny nevda. What if after he swore falsely that he in fact had it? Then they did another parsha, the Torah, that says you pay, you do the halacha of Hasham Gzelos, which is Mishalim Karen v'chaimish v'asham. You have to pay a Karen and add a 20% premium to it, and you have to bring a korban Hasham Eilos. Why did the Brisa chap on the case of Ochloi? Why couldn't the Brisa just say we have Edim that he had it? Zok Taisvis, the top Taisvis, Ochloi nakat lerabusa, afa pisha avdaim in the olam. Even though you destroyed it from the world, it's worse than just stealing. Now you destroyed it; it could never go back to the Bailam. Pater min hakefel b'tainis avad. If you say avad, you're pater from kevel. The seifa nakat shaganvai. And the Sefer that uses the example of Gombe, which we'll see soon, l'rabuza da'af pishu be'en, even though it's still be'en, so it's not so bad, you didn't totally eliminate any possibility of the owner getting it back. Chayiv kefil kivin shetoin tainis kan. Okay, let's see the next case. Heichen pigdoni. Amalai nignav. This time he said it was nignav. Mashbiachani. I want you to swear. V'amar amein v'edem eidnoi sheganvai. There mishalom tashlum kevel, and hayidem atzmai. You still pay mishalom karen v'chaymish v'asram. You don't pay kevel because you don't pay kevel al piyat. Let's see Rashi. Mishalom as a karen. The ain kevel ela b'tainis ganav, like we said. Hayidem atzmai mishalom karen v'chaymish v'asram. Dechsiv oy mikol asher yishav alav l'sheker. This is one of the ashamais. V'zo asham gzelos. You only bring an Asham Gzelos El al Haidas pit. Only if you on your own were Moida. That's where the Torah says you bring an Asham Gzelos. Even though it doesn't say Beferish in that parsha that there was a Haidah, because of Achmana, the Asham Gezel Ager, the Parshas Nosoi, the Hisvadu es Chatasam. So we learn that applies to every Chiev to pay a Keren B'chamish V'Asham. It's where you were Moida. If you don't bring an asham, you're not going to pay a chaimish. So if you're not moed al piatzmai, you don't pay a chaimish. Okay. Zok the heilige Gemara weiter. Katani mia. Betoin tainis gan of the mishal to shlomek kefel. Aber betoin tainis ovad loy mishal to shlomek kefel. Tainis Avedo is over Himenu. Vafilu Tainis Ganov, and even if someone is Tainis Ganov, he's only Chayiv Kefel B'Shvua who the Mishal Tashlume Kefel. Avo Shaloi B'Shvua Ein Mishal Tashlume Kefel. If he just denies that he has it, but he never swore that he doesn't have it, he never swore that it was stolen from him, then he would not pay Kefel when he was caught. B'Shvua La'achash and Nishbal Sheker K'Dekatani Mashpiachani, and he said Amen. Minanimili. How do we know, in fact, that it has to be B'Shvua? The Tanur Rabbanan. Im Yimatei Aganev, the Torah says at the end of the sugya, it says, Im Yimatei Aganev, Yeshalim Shtakidin Ish El Re'eu, Kesef Kelim Lishmar, V'guna V'beisa Ish, Im Yimatei Aganev, Yeshalim Shnoyim. It says, Im Yimatei Aganev, V'toyin Tainis Ganev, Akosef Medaber. What does it mean, Yimatei Aganev? Did the guy who he claims, who the shomer claims stole it, he was caught? Or does it means the shomer was found to have been a ganav? Zokti Brisa, what does it mean? B'toyin tainis ganav akosef medaber. The pasuk is talking about the toyin tainis ganav. Zokt Rashi, b'toyin tainis ganav, b'balabayis, shetoyin tainis ganav, b'bikadon zeh, because it says v'gunav v'beisa ish, hakosef medaber. The kamer dim yumotzei, shehu ganav, so Yishalom Shnai. So we're talking about the shomer. Ata oimer v'toyin tainis ganav, oy einoi ela v'ganav atzmoi. Maybe it's the ganav himself, which means oy einoi ela v'ganav atzmoi shabalabayis emes ta'an v'nimtza ganav shegonvoi. Maybe it's actually referring to the ganav who actually did steal it, and maybe his claim was right. Zok the Raisha kishu oimer im lo yimotzei ganav. The pasuk goes on and says, Im lo yimatzei aganev, v'nikrav balabayis el halahim, im lo shalach yadiv v'melachs re'eu. So when it says im lo yimatzei aganev, have oimer, I would say, v'toyin tainis ganev akasav v'daber. It must be that we're talking about the toyin tainis ganev. Let's see Rashi. Kishu oimer im lo yimatzei aganev. U'lekameimu kuminan law. And the Gemara is going to analyze that pasuk a little later and tell us that b'toyin tainis ganev shenimtza hu ba'atzmai ganev. That's what the pasuk is talking about. So where it says im lo yimatzei aganev in the pasuk, im lo yimatzei aganev, that's referring to if the shomer himself had stolen it. Have oimer da'ikra delil nami kishenimtza balabai shakin kamar. So let's say that just like the later parsha has been proven to be talking about the actual shomer stealing it, maybe that's also referring to if the shomer stole it. Look, of course, the Gemara is going to ask, if the later pasuk already covers the halacha when the shomer himself stole it, why would I need to say that the first pasuk is talking about the same case? Tanya idach, we have another brayse. That's speaking beganav atzmai. Maybe it's not talking about a regular ganav stealing it, the third party ganav. Maybe it's talking about the actual shomer stealing it. There's a pasuk that already says later, Im lo yimatzei ganav. Hare toyin tainis ganav amor. We're already covering for a case of toyin tainis ganav. Hamani mikami yimatzei ganav beganav atzmai akasav v'daber. So you have two brayses that seem to take the opposite standpoint. Right? One brayse says, from the fact that we've already covered toyin tainis ganav, let's say yimatzei ganav means there was a third party ganav. The second brayse says, no, if this is speaking about toyin tainis ganav, say that this as well is speaking about toyin tainis ganav. So we need to sort this out. Zok the Gemara. Duchula alma miyos. Everybody agrees that im lo yimatzei aganev v'in toyin tainis ganav. That everybody agrees that im lo yimatzei ganev is referring to im lo yimatzei the ganev, but the shomer himself stole it. Then the shomer pays kef. My mashma. Where do you see that in the words of im lo yimatzei ganev? Amarava im lo yimatzei k'mosha amar. If we found that the what actually occurred, the reality isn't exactly the way this shomer described it, as Rashi says, and we find the facts show that in fact it wasn't stolen as per the report of the shomer. Ela shahu atzmai ganvai. Yet the shomer himself had stolen it. Yishalim shnayim. He has to pay two. Then he comes to the Bezdin. Kloimar, v'hu kfar nishpa v'dovar. When it says with nikra balabais, which we're going to see in a second, as the Gemara says now, we know on the b'shvua the time of a nikra balabais el ha'elahim, and that's how we know there's a shvua. So when does he pay kefil? He pays kefil if before we caught him, he had already sworn in Bezdin that he's not chayiv, that it was stolen from him. He had already sworn that he didn't touch it. What does the Torah tell him? What is his verdict? He has to pay kefil. Zok Gemara. So how do you know that he had already sworn? Because it says v'nikra balabayis l'shvua. That means a shvua. Ata omer l'shvua. How do you know when the pasuk says v'nikra balabayis? It means he's swearing. Maybe they're just going to try to find out the facts. How do we know that there's actually a shvua involved? Dr. Gemara, nemar shlichus yad lamata. It says shlichus yad later on. The nemar shlichus yad l'mayla, and it says shlichus yad earlier. Malalon l'shvua. Just like later on, they're speaking with the shvua. Afkan l'shvua. Dr. Gemara. Bishlam l'manda omar chad v'ganav v'chad v'toyin tanis ganav. If you understand the second price, that one price, one pasuk, the earlier pasuk of Imiwate Ganav is referring to a real Ganav, and the second pasuk of Miloyimate Ganav is referring to Toyin Tanis Ganav. That's why we need two psukim, one to deal with Ganav and one to deal with Toyin Tanis Ganav. But if they're both referring to Toyin Tanis Ganav, Trei Kroi Lamali. Why is it that you need two psukim? Zok Gemara, Amri, I'll tell you why you need two psukim. Very, very simple. You need as follows. 1 second. We need one pasuk to say that a tainus ovad, that a tainus ovad does not have a chiyuv of kefil. So that's why you need. But if one pasuk is speaking by ganav, one by toyin tanis ganav, the loy miyaser, so we don't have any extra pasuk. Lemute tainus ovad minale. How will he know that there's no chiyuv kefil if the shomer tained that it was lost? Zakter miganav haganav. It says im lo yimatze haganav instead of saying im lo yimatze ganav. So from the extra hey. Ulamanda Amar Tarvaya b'Toyin Tainus Ganav, Demiatle Toyin Tainus Avad. So he knows from the extra parsha that Toyin Tainus Avad is going to be part from Kefel. Ganav Ha Ganav Ma Got Dershbe. What's he going to do with that extra? Hey, Amalach he'll tell you I need it for B'chir Bar Abba. Amar B'Yochanan. Damar B'chir Bar Abba. Amar B'Yochanan. HaToyin Tainus Ganav b'Pikadoin. B'Shalom T'Shlom Kefel. And Tavachu Mochar Meshalam Tashlume Arba B'Chamisha. Zok Gemara. Okay, so from Haganav, you know it, he also pays Arba B'Chamisha. But what about the other mandamar? The mandamar Chad B'Ganav, the Chad B'Toyin Tainus Ganav. The Haganav, you need Afke Lamute Tainus Ovad. How do I know that you pay Dal V'Hei by Toyin Tainus Ganav? Amalach Hekeshu. It's a Hekesh. Ve'ein Meshivin Alakeshu. So now let's stop here for a second. Let's go into Rashi, because Rashi is going to tell us now how we know that it's B'Shvua. So the Gemara said, it says later on, Adalakim, and we say it means B'Shvua. So here, well, it means B'Shvua. So let's see what Rashi says. Umimai, the Haiva Nikr Balabais, L'Shvua Kamar. So let's look at the Psukim here. It says, it starts off with Kit and Ish al Re'eu, Kesav Akelim Lishmar, the good of a base Ish, Imimatze Gani V'Shalom Shnai. The next pasuk is, the pasuk Zayin is the next pasuk. Im lo yimatzei haganav v'nikra balabais el ha'olahim. So we want to say this means b'shvua, and it means if he had already sworn. Im lo yimatzei haganav. If it turns out that it was not stolen from the shomer, as the shomer said, rather he had stolen it, and he has already sworn in Bezdin that l'shalach yadim l'chsreyu. So then the halacha is al kol devar pesha al shar al chamar al seh al salma al kol aved shem kuzeh. He's going to swear. So here again it says, Ad ho Elohim yovoid var shneim asher shin Elohim yishal shtayim l'rei. So the Gemara is going to say as follows. Umimai da'av nikabal abayis l'shvua kamar l'shvua shekivin shetoyin v'goyniv b'beis ha'ish yishava sheniknav aviyitvar. Oy eina el ladin. Maybe it's ladin means lepiroyin. Maybe the shar mechinim shetoyin niknav yishalim. Maybe a shar mechinim who says niknav should be chayiv. And maybe that is what the Torah is teaching us, because the High Rabbi Shoyachim Ksiv can mean by Shoyal. In a Shoyal, the Gemara goes through all these psukim and determines each of these psukim what it was referring to, and in a Shoyal it tells us that these psukim are referring to a Shoy Merchid. Lemesh Nichutet Lamata. B'Shoy Mesocher, it's a Shvuas Hashem Tia Ben Shneim Im Loy Shalach. So this is a pasuk later that we have not quoted that is specifically referring to Shoy Mesocher. And when it says over there, Shlich Hashad, it says specifically Shvuas Hashem Tia Ben Shneim. So by Hashem Mesachar, the Torah says beferish that there's an actual shvu there. Shlich Hashad Lamaila is in our parsha where it says by Hashem Mechinam, it says V'nikra Balabais El Elohim L'Shalach Yodai. And it says Shlich Hashad Lamata where it's talking about Hashem Mesachar, which our Gemara has quoted those psukim, but there it says beferish that you make a shvu. That's right. It's going to show. Lamutatain is avad. Imtan nevlimen. What if the sheriff said it was not stolen from me? It was lost. The edom shagonvoy. They're part of mikafel afilu nishba. We also said that by a time is gone if you pay arba chamisha kiganav atzma, just like the God of himself pays the alvei, the nafklei miganav haganav. So Zakhamar at the end, how does he learn? Reb Chia bar Abba's halacha that you pay kefel. Zakhamar, he knows it from Hakish and Meshivin alakish. That's right. Hikeshu, the kivan the smichil adadi hanikroy. Since these psukim are close together, ishkis ganev v'toyitan is ganev ladodi. We have a pasuk of ganev, right? Imimotei ganev, and then right after it, we have imloyimotei ganev. Therefore, we say that whatever halachas apply to a ganev apply to a toyitan is ganev. Ma ganev mishalom l'shlumei above chamisha im tavachum machar. Av toyitan is ganev mishalom above chamisha if it was tavachum machar. Even though you could have a kasha on the hekesh, and you could say mal ganav atzmoy shekin chayev kevel below shua. You can't stammer say mitzvara that a toyin is ganav should have all the chumras of a ganav, because a ganav is way more chomer. He's chayev kevel even if he didn't swear. Toimer the toyin is ganav is torch swore. A toyin is ganav will only be chayev to be kevel if he swore that he didn't steal it. For that, the Gemara says, "Ein mashivin ala hekesh." On the hekesh, you don't ask larger kashas. Kidamrinon lahal milsa v'agosheleitim, like we said in agosheleitim. V'ikadamri hekesha kidamafar shasam, or then maybe it's a different hekesh. Hoyel the ganav b'shalom kefel. V'toyin tain is ganav b'shalom kefel. Ma ganav tavuch ha'mocher b'shalom t'shlum v'avav chamisha. Av toyin tain is ganav tavuch ha'mocher b'shalom v'avav chamisha. V'lav milsi. That cannot be pshat. The ha Mamatzinu binyanavu. That's not a hekesh. That's a mematzinu. A mematzinu you could slug up with svara. Below hekesha. Ala smichas hamikrois kari hekesh v'achanam shemin nosam. So Rashi is teaching us the definition of a hekesh is when you have two psukim that are side by side. If you have a svara to say that this should be like that, that's not what the definition of a hekesh is. Because we have either we have an extra pasuk, or because we have the hay of Haganav. Okay, Zok to Gemara weiter. If you're going to learn one pasuk speaking about Ganav, I want to write 20 times Ganav. Shopper, it's geschmack. Elamanam tabai 20 times Ganav. Ganav atzmoi minolei. How do you know that a Ganav face kefil? You don't have a pasuk about it. The chitem elaisa v'kal v'chaymer between times Ganav. And if you're going to tell me that we could learn it from a kal v'chaymer, madach someone who didn't steal it, he's just 20 times Ganav. He's going to be chayiv. Kol shegay a ganav should be chayiv. Da you love him and didn't leosh kenita. That would limit the chayiv kefil by a ganav. Mal alam b'shuva v'kam b'shuva. Then you should need a shvua. A ganav should have to swear first that he didn't steal it. I don't know how he became a suspect. That we make swear, but it would have to be such a case. So the more you know how he would know that a ganav is kefil. Naf kalei the ton of Echizkiah. The ton of Echizkiah yomer shor u'geneva v'akol b'chlal. All it had to say was shor and geneva. So let's see Rashi. Zok the heilige Rashi. Ha nichelaman mechad begad mechad between times ganav shapir nafka le ganav mehacha We learn Ganav because we have a pasuk that's dedicated to the Ganav. Elamadamar that both Tukum are speaking about Toin and Ganav. How do we know a Ganav? Gemara Meditana Vechizkiah. The Darish Kurachvina, he dashes a completely different pasuk. The Mishtoi Beganav Atzmoi that's discussing a Ganav. And it says in Mimotzei Timotzei Biyodei Hageneva. It says in the pasuk in Shemois Chafez, in Mimotzei Timotzei Biyodei Hageneva, Mishar at Chamor at Se. So that's three pratim. Chaim Shnayim Yishalit. So Zok to Gemara. V'hai de nokat drosha, v'loy nokat kra, mishum de mikra loy nafkalon behedya ela balei chayim. The reason why it's midrasha, the drosha lecheskia, and not the mefurish pasuk to the beferish. I mean, motzei biyadek and you pay twice because the pasuk is speaking directly about balei chayim. Shor chamor seh. The dichsev mishor ve'at chamor atzeh chayim. Umidrasha marba lutan de becheskia lekul. And Chizkiah uses the drasha to say that this pasuk isn't exclusively referring to the Hamas, but rather anything that you steal, you're going to be chayiv to pay kefal for. The Torah of Chizkiah, Yomer Shar Uganeva. It could have said Mimotzei Timotzei B'Yodei Ganeva Mishar. Why did it have to list off all the pratim? Everything would have been included. So I might have mistakenly said Ma Prat before is Karv L'Gav Mizbeach. I've called Karv L'Gav Mizbeach. This is a very similar thread, right? So Gemara, Mayesh Lachlavi, Seh. That would include only a Seh, which is also something that you could be makriv on the Mizbeach. Kishu Omer Seh, when the pasuk actually says Seh, Harei Seh Omer, I already know Seh. So why do I need the extra word Seh? Amani Mikayim, Geneva, the rabbis called over. Okay, let's stop. Let's see Rashi. Zok Tehelig Rashi. Yomer Shor Ugeneva Bakol B'Chlal. The Marbinin call Ke'ena Prat. Davar Metalta B'Guf Moment. Chamor V'Seh Lamali. Mashani Iluken L'Kaman Mefarish Shmai Amar Halav Klal or Prat or Klalu the Kedorish like in a Prat. This isn't the Klal Prat the Klal. So what do you mean it could have only said this or that? We would have known from the Prat. This is not a Prat. This is not a Klal Prat the Klal here at all. So we'll have to understand that as well. Av Kol Korv Look up in Mizbeach. V'Lo Misrabi Meked Prat. Maybe you only know that what do you pay kefil for if you steal something that you could have been makriv on the mizbeach. Don't say the klal is only including things to be chayiv kefil if they could be brought on the mizbeach. What else would be included besides a shor that you could be makriv on the mizbeach? That's really all it would be adding. Not adding a sus or a gomel because they can't be brought on the mizbeach. But Kishuaymer said, it says there already, Haresa Amar, Aman Mikayim Gneva, what are we learning from the Klal Prat the Klal? Shani Darish Bechena Prat is going to be Larabois, Shar Devarim, Kol Hani, all these things. Kishuaymer said, Haresa Amar, Aman Mikayim Gneva, Larabois Kol Over. Sorry?
The whole drush.
That's right. Just to figure out that a Ganav who steals something has to pay double is a whole, it's blotter of Gemara. That's right. Aman Mikayim Gneva, Larabois Kol Over. Look, Gemara, Yoimar, Shar, Se ugeneva v'chol b'chlal. So now it could have said gneva shor and se, but why did it say? The pasuk says at shor at chamor at se. Why do I need chamor? The chamor ilukach yisoimer ma prat nefurish davar hakadosh b'bechayra af kol davar hakadosh b'bechayra ma yesh lach lahavi chamor. The only thing else that you would add is a chamor, but it says chamor already. Kishoimer chamor arei chamor omer amani mikayim gneva lerabois kol davar. Once again, it includes everything that you would steal. You'll be chayiv to pay kefil for. Yomer shar v'chamor se ugeneva v'koil b'chlal. It could have said chamor, shar, and se. What does it say? It says a gneva mishar at chamor at se. So that the v'kol b'chlal chayim the mashul rabbis kol b'al chayim lamuli. So why does it say chayim? So the question, why did it say the word chayim? Ilukach hayisiyomer ma prat mefurish balei chayim af kol balei chayim ma yesh lachlavi shar balei chayim. But kishomer chayim, it already says chayim. So we already know balei chayim are included. So what is the purpose of the three pratim? Marei chayim omer mani mikayim geneva the rabbis kol davar. So that's how I know that not only is it animate object, is it live things that you're chayiv kefil for, you're chayiv kefil for everything and anything. Okay, we'll stop here and we'll be Mamshech Pesach tomorrow. Okay, now I have to get a better understanding why it's called Meruba, because you could learn more than the daf. from these easier blätter. And also-
Yosy, I have a
Yes.
name for you for the shear.
Oh, thank you. I need that.
Okay, take that off here, but no position to a juxtaposition. No opposition
No opposition to your
to a
juxtaposition.
juxtaposition.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much.
Where did you learn the word the juxtaposition? Only from
From the art scroll.
from
The art scroll. The art scroll. I haven't seen the word juxtaposition in more places than I see the art scroll. Because
No,
whenever
no,
the Gemara is
in
comparing and
anywhere
contrasting.
else. There's a mal ergens anders gesehen, the juxtaposition.
Explain to Reb Chaim the reason why we use art scrolls not to learn the Gemara is to learn English.
Hast du schon.
Yeah, the art scroll was invented to teach Talmud Chacham English.